Children can use drawing as a way to express emotions or feelings they don't understand, but sometimes they simply draw what is familiar to them. So, if a child is drawing pictures of people holding hands with strangers, there might be something more going on there. This is part 3 of children's drawings with disturbing backstories. Robert and his wife are parents to 2 children, a 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. Robert shared with me something disturbing that he and his wife discovered recently. Their daughter, whom I will refer to as Sophia, loves to draw. So they gave her all the art supplies she needed to keep her quiet and entertained for hours. They have a whole Crayola backpack full of art supplies that Sophia uses, with markers, colored pencils, crayons, and construction paper. Sophia has piles of drawings in her room and even in her backpack, and most of them are normal, innocent drawings. However, one day Robert found a drawing in Sophia's room that left him a bit confused. At first, it was a picture of an unknown woman holding Sophia's hand, but it didn't look like Robert's wife, who was blonde. It was a brunette woman. Robert asked Sophia who the woman was, and she said it was the woman who visited her sometimes. This sounded like something a 6-year-old with an imaginary friend would say. When Robert asked what the friend's name was, Sophia said it was Anna. This immediately caused concern for Robert. So he went to show the drawing to his wife and asked if the woman looked like her sister. At first, his wife said it could be anyone, but when Robert said their daughter mentioned that her name was Anna, she gave Robert a meaningful look, as if she understood immediately. Anna was the name of Robert's deceased sister, who died before either of the couple's children were born. The couple went to their daughter's room and asked Sophia who exactly Anna was. Sophia again said, "She visits me sometimes." Trying to get more details, the couple asked when Anna usually visited and what they talk about. Sophia replied something like, "She visits at night, sometimes when I'm drawing." Robert's wife asked Sophia to draw another picture of her the next time she saw Anna, this time with more details, and Sophia agreed to do so. From then on, Robert and his wife started paying attention to Sophia's drawings just to hear if she was talking to someone. It wasn't until a few nights later when, while in the kitchen, the couple suddenly heard Sophia talking to someone in her room. They quietly approached her room to listen to what she was saying. There were long pauses between what Sophia was saying, but she was clearly talking to someone or something that didn't appear to be there, because she seemed to be answering questions that the parents couldn't hear being asked. At one point, Sophia said, "They asked about you when they saw my drawing of you. They want me to draw you again." Then she stopped talking completely, and it was when Robert and his wife entered the room and asked if she was talking to Anna again. She nodded her head, and they asked where in the room Anna was. Sophia turned, looked around the room, then focused on the corner and said, "She's right there." Robert and his wife looked at the corner of the room, but saw nothing. However, both of them agreed they felt an uneasy feeling in the room and were extremely uncomfortable. Robert's wife softly told Sophia to draw what Anna looked like right then, down to every last detail. After Sophia said, "Okay, Mom," the couple left the room. Sophia didn't speak anymore, and the parents were left feeling uncomfortable. Shortly after, Sophia called her mother back to the room. So Robert and his wife returned to her room, and she presented a new drawing. This drawing confirmed the couple's fears. It was the picture in the new drawing, with much more detail. Sophia drew Anna with blue eyes, a small mole above her lip, and dressed in white. Anna was buried in white, and had blue eyes and a small mole above her lip. Robert's wife was never close to her sister, having only attended the funeral briefly, so Sophia had never known about her deceased aunt. There were also no pictures around the house that she could have seen. Robert and his wife told Sophia they didn't want her talking to Anna anymore. This wasn't because Anna had done something particularly terrible in her life, but because it was truly scaring the couple. The couple had a priest come to bless the house and ask any spirits to leave in peace. According to Robert, they haven't had to deal with any further incidents. This story was submitted by an art teacher from an elementary school. Twice a year, with each class, the teacher would hold what she called draw and tell, where the children would draw something that meant something to them, and then tell the story behind it. This was with the 3rd grade class, as most of the students were drawing pictures of themselves with their families or with their pets or any number of things. One boy was drawing what appeared to be nothing but fire. The other kids at his table were noticeably glancing over and laughing at him as he did it, and when the art teacher noticed this, she went over to the boy and asked why he was drawing fire. He was supposed to be drawing something that meant something to him. The boy replied, "I know, I'm not finished yet." So the teacher let the boy continue doing his thing. When the students were finishing up their drawings, the teacher came back to the boy and now noticed that he had added a house to the drawing. The teacher asked the boy to come with her to the hall, and she took the drawing with them. In the hall, the teacher asked the boy why he was drawing a burning house, as this was completely inappropriate for a draw and tell. The boy replied, "No, it's not. This is the house my parents tried to burn down with me in it." The teacher was speechless and didn't know what to say. She kept the drawing, told him to return to his seat, and said, "We're not going to do the draw anymore." When they re-entered the classroom, she sat at her desk for a moment, holding back tears, and eventually announced to the class that everyone would be taking their drawings home with them instead. Doing the draw and tell, this story comes from another father who preferred to remain anonymous. So all the names will be fictitious. Mark and Elisa are parents to Laura, who was 5 years old when this happened. Laura is a calm and well-behaved girl, according to her father, which makes this story even more frightening. Mark and Elisa's bedroom is right next to Laura's. The night the strange events began was when Laura came to their room and said she was scared because something was in her closet. Mark took her back to her room and showed her the inside of a closet to assure her there were no monsters there. The next night, Laura returned to her parents' room, saying there was a monster in her closet again. This time, Mark and Elisa let Laura sleep with them, and the following day, Laura drew a picture of the supposed monster she had been seeing and showed it to her parents. Mark said the drawing really scared him, but until then, it all seemed like normal child stuff, until one of the following nights when Mark and Elisa woke up to Laura crying and screaming. They rushed to her room to see what had happened, and she said, "I'm bleeding," while lifting her shirt to show her back, where there appeared to be 2 scratch marks. Laura claimed the monster did this. Mark turned the room and the entire house upside down looking for anyone who could have done this. When the house turned out to be empty, Mark and Elisa had no choice but to assume that Laura had probably hurt herself, either intentionally or accidentally. But over time, the couple began to reflect, and the series of events seemed too insane to be just a coincidence. While the couple insisted that Laura sleep alone again, she never changed her story that the monster was responsible for the scratches on her back. To try to calm her about sleeping alone, they moved Laura's furniture to the guest room, making it her new room. Laura went to her parents' room a few more times in the middle of the night, but on both occasions, when they asked if she had seen the monster again, she replied, "No, I'm just scared." Fortunately, she did not suffer any further injuries while sleeping. The next drawing and story were submitted by Helen, who found this drawing on her desk in her room, as she lets her 7-year-old brother use her desk to draw. She thought it was strange from the start that her brother had left this drawing on the desk, as he normally took all his drawings back to his room and hid them. However, since he left this one, she felt he wanted her to see it. Upon looking at the drawing, it seemed like an innocent family illustration made by a 7-year-old, but in the corner, there was a black figure labeled as the taking man. Helen left the drawing on the desk for a couple of days before noticing the man in the corner. After looking at the drawing again, she realized the man was on a swing, but the family didn't have a swing set. This could just be a 7-year-old's imagination, but he had never asked his parents for a swing set nor showed interest in one. Beneath the mysterious man, labeled as the taking man, there seemed to be an object that Helen thought might resemble a window or some kind of door in the ground. So, she went outside to check the lawn for any kind of door or window, but there was nothing. A few days later, while in the bathroom, which was across the hall from her brother's room, Helen was washing her face when she heard her brother laughing and talking. This could have just been him playing with his toys alone, but after finishing her skincare routine and rinsing her face, Helen went to check on her brother. The door to his room was slightly open, so she looked in and saw him on the floor talking to something under his bed. She quickly opened the door, and her brother got up, sat on the bed, and turned his head to the TV. When Helen asked who he was talking to, he said he wasn't talking to anyone. Thinking he was just playing, Helen went to bed. The next morning, her brother woke up holding an empty glass and asked if she could fill it with chocolate milk. Helen went downstairs to fill the glass and came back up with a couple of snacks for herself. When she entered her brother's room, strangely, she found him fast asleep. She woke him up and handed him the glass, and he insisted that he hadn't asked for it. She knew he had, so she didn't argue and left the glass next to his bed. That night, around 4 a.m., Helen woke up to hear her brother talking again, so she went to his room and peeked her head inside. The last thing she remembers is hearing her brother talking to someone and seeing a black shadow in the room. The next thing she remembers is waking up in her bed the next morning. When confronting her brother, he denied any recollection of talking to anyone the night before. When Helen decided to tell her parents about the drawing and what she thought she had witnessed the previous night, they spoke to him. And he said the person in the drawing was the taking man, and that he takes things and brings them back. I really trust him. He's my best friend. He also gives me red berries. I think they're called cranberries. Now he won't come back. Helen doesn't know if what she saw in her brother's room was a dream or not, but she remembers it vividly and says it didn't feel like a dream. And if it wasn't a dream, she has no recollection of what happened after she saw that shadow in her brother's room. Since then, her brother has not spoken about the taking man again.